Hello, welcome to another edition of Encarando o Sobrenatural Official. Davi here. And my brothers, this leader we have right now, I just want you to notice how much he hates. And that's the word. The masks are coming off. The man of love, right? The man of equality and so on. Love has won. That was said in the last election. I want you to pay close attention to how it's the opposite of what they say. How this guy is full of hate, especially against those people who aren't agonizing, who aren't crawling on the floor. He talks about these people with deep hatred, hardworking people, good people, and he talks about them with deep hatred. And pay attention also to how he dresses. Very similar to the mobsters from the 1950s. He dresses exactly the same. And the hatred is the same too. Pay close attention.
Because we're going to put an end to this idea they have that poor people don't like nice things. We like nice things. We like nice things. We want only the best. Everything. Top quality food, clothes, first class travel, and the best dentists and doctors. Because we need to put an end to this nonsense. The rich say, I have a good health insurance plan. I have good doctors that I pay for here. He doesn't pay a damn thing. He deducts from his income tax what he pays for health insurance. If he deducts it from his taxes, we end up paying for it because we stop receiving that money. I know there are people who don't like it when I talk like this. Lula is angry. I'm not angry. I'm right here, looking good, healthy, and very, very optimistic, Padilla. It's Padilla.
Come on, Lula, you damn thief, you miserable thief, you rotten damn thief. I'm out!
Zeladão, desgraçado ruim!
Go to hell, you miserable bastard! You thief! Bastard!
What is this? What more can I say than what I've already said, my brother? That's what rules over us. Look at their posture. Take all the presidents we've ever had. Even he himself. Even he had never done that. But he already feels like he owns the country and now thinks he can do anything, even thinks he's winning. That's why I've been saying that this right wing that's out there needs to be wiped out so that something new can be born. Because even now these guys are saying no, but we have to appease them. We have to negotiate. Negotiate with these guys and no. It's not just theory anymore. We have clear examples in the world of presidents who made a difference. If you take it, my brother, I wanted to show you here, but I won't even show it. It's El Salvador. Forget it. It's El Salvador. Let's take the country where the change was the smoothest. Let's take Argentina. Milei based his speech on his, and I was even going to translate it, but that won't get through on YouTube Brazil. But his speech was like, they envy us because we're like this, and that. We have these characteristics, and they envy us because they're dumber and uglier. That was the kind of speech Milei gave there. And that's allowed. Not here. Here, there's Ave Maria. You say something like that, and it's El Salvador, my brother. No way. There was no such thing as let's negotiate that. No, it was let's go after those guys. Because you don't negotiate with evil. With those guys, there's no way. Look at Trump in the United States. Same thing. We go after them. I translated it here. Trump's was still manageable. Trump used to say, they came after us, we fought back, and now it's a matter of survival. When I get into power, I'm going to hunt these guys down. And he made a lot of changes there, my brother. So much so that they're already trying other ways to take him out of power. Impeachment, threats, and they've been going after the guy's life since the election. Why is that? There's no negotiation, my brother. No need to negotiate with these guys. The right stands firm. The left keeps pushing this agenda. Let's negotiate. Michelle was calling the immoral guy a brother in Christ, right? And only those who want to be our brothers. Only those who are children of God. Let's make that very clear. Because there's a new gospel, right? That puts God as a prostitute who loves everyone unconditionally. And that doesn't exist. Only those who repent are a new creation. Those who give up their sins. Only those who choose are God's children. This is very clear. Christ said to the prophets, if a city won't listen to you, leave and shake the dust off your sandals. That's it, my brother. They're not brothers. That guy is nobody's brother. He's an enemy. We're in this together, you know? In this mess today. And we'll reap the results right here. See? I'll show you all on that screen. Meanwhile, the president is out flipping people off and spreading hate, right? Before we look at this, I'll also show you the effect of this in the industry, right? This is a CNN report. I make a point of bringing it here so no one can say otherwise, right? So people don't make things up. There it is. Look, analysis. Oil prices went down, but fuel prices didn't. The conflict between the United States and Iran drove up Brent crude, but the drop in barrel prices didn't bring diesel and gasoline back to the levels from the beginning of the year. This article was published on September 3, 2026. Like I said before, when it goes up, my brother, right? When it goes up, they pass the increase on to us. But when it goes down, look. International oil has given back much of the risk premium created by the conflict between the United States and Iran. After the spike caused by the interruption of the Strait of Hormuz, Brent returned in early June to a range close to $70 to $72 per barrel. The market signal is clear. Geopolitical risk has decreased, even though it hasn't disappeared. The same movement hasn't appeared with the same strength in fuel prices in Brazil. The behavior of regular diesel and regular gasoline prices shows an asymmetry, which is well known but economically important. The price rises quickly when oil shoots up, but it goes down more slowly when the barrel price drops in Brazil. It almost doesn't go down at all. That's why this makes me so outraged, family. Yeah, it makes me pissed off. Why does this make me so upset? Because the media still whitewashes it. My brother, the media operates under a public broadcast license. They can't do this kind of work. If they want to be activists, they can't operate under a public broadcast license. Look, what's happening there is very clear. O que está acontecendo aí é muito claro. When prices rise, we pay more, but when they fall, we don't see the savings. Because here in Brazil, not only fuels, but all the products that are made available for us to buy, for us to consume, all these products are sold not based on what they cost plus profit, production profit. No, that's not how it's done here. In the rest of the world, it is. But in Brazil, things are sold for what Brazilians can afford to pay. They do a survey, levantamento. Look how necessary this product is, how essential it is for the people, how much the people depend on it, and how much people are willing to pay. We know that the truck drivers' strike served the system, even though it was a legitimate strike. That first strike, it helped the system see how high prices could go and people would still line up to buy. Michel Temer himself contradicted many truck drivers who were saying that the people were with them, that the people were outraged, and Michel Temer said that's a lie, because what people want is gas at the pump, and the lines are miles long. At the stations that actually have fuel, they're selling it for 10 reais a liter, 15 reais a liter. There were cities here in Brazil selling at that price, and people were lining up to pay, and if that wasn't enough, they were even fighting. Both women and men, we saw some of those videos here.
A fuel shipment arrived, a line formed, and there was a recent commotion.
Right, Marcelo? This line is really long since the early hours of the morning. We'll keep following it here. So many people are bringing gas cans, and I see mostly taxi drivers, even the drivers themselves, bringing cans to store this fuel.
A lot of people were even buying this fuel at 10 reais per liter, filling up those barrels, water barrels, and then offering it for 15, 20 reais per liter. O litro. And people were buying it. It was desperation, Davi, but it's because it's essential, right? But it's not something that if you don't drive, you're gonna die. We're talking about it's an ambulance that, no, it was people who often needed the car just to go out too, even though it's an important service. But not in a strike, not in a fight, right? For our ownership of the fuel to be respected, because it's ours, it's in our country, it's ours, it belongs to every Brazilian, it's not the government's, it's ours. The government is a representation of the people. But unfortunately, Michel Temer proved he was right, and that ended up being used as a benchmark, right, for the government to understand that they could raise prices and nothing would happen. So that's not important, you'll see. In fact, this video will probably be exclusive just for members, right? We usually release all of them, but people aren't interested. If people aren't interested, I make it members only since it doesn't seem important. More important is the Brazil game, right? It hasn't happened as I make this video, but by the time you watch, it probably has. And I hope Brazil lost, because this isn't really Brazil, right? It's a mixed team. They brought in a foreign coach. So for me, it's a mixed team. So my brothers, the result of this is people running away, right? I'll put it on that little screen so you can watch it with me. It's an article from Revista Oeste, okay? Take a look with me.
Now it's time to talk to Maria Laura, because the businessman Luciano Hang, owner of the Havan store chain, is considering the international expansion of the brand to Paraguay. In recent posts on social media, the old man from Havan showed how impressed he is with the turnaround in the country and its people who were previously marginalized in South America. Let's call on our correspondent Maria Laura Cis, who brings us the information about Luciano Hang's visit in Paraguay, including a meeting with President Santiago Peña. So let's talk here with Maria Laura, who will bring more updates for our audience. She's already here on the big screen. Maria Laura, is it cold over there? Good afternoon and welcome to JDO2.
Good afternoon, Jeziani. Good afternoon to our entire audience. As always, it's a pleasure to bring the latest information from our region. Exactly, the cold here in Buenos Aires is extreme, especially with the -2 degrees we woke up to today. However, we had very good news related to Luciano Hang's visit to Paraguay, especially because he visited President Santiago Peña, who even celebrated his visit on social media. He said that Luciano Hang is part of major international economic groups that are looking to invest in the country. The Minister of Commerce and Industry also celebrated, as he also visited Luciano Hang and had a meeting with him. On the other hand, Hang also visited the President of the Chamber of Deputies, where he celebrated the laws that make life easier for people who want to invest in the country, as well as the labor laws, which in Paraguay in a way are much more flexible than in Brazil. Hang also said that since the last time she visited Paraguay, she found the country to be much more modern. A much more conservative country with less bureaucracy, a low tax burden and flexible labor laws. Which seems to indicate that yes, the conditions are there, right? According to what was published by One, that in the future they will invest in the country. Hang also visited some of his suppliers, remembering that part of their products comes, for example, from countries like, that's right,
Family. Later you can watch this video here. Look, it's lower taxes and more freedom. The owner of Havan is received by the President of Paraguay. This video was published in Revista Oeste. It's up to date, right? I'm recording this video on July 5th and I'll probably publish it on July 6th. So it's a recent video. It's worth watching, okay? It's 7 minutes and 44 seconds long, and we've only watched 2 minutes and 22 seconds because we've already reached the point I wanted to talk to you about, because that's what's happening. Although the media and Luciano Hang himself have to maintain a certain appearance, right? The fact is that what he's going to do is move the production sector, right? That part that manufactures the product, that more logistical side of things, will go to Paraguay. It's not that he's internationalizing the business. No, he's choosing Paraguay specifically because there are fewer taxes. So here in Brazil, currently he generates 27,000 jobs. You'll see that when this happens, they don't say they're going to do mass layoffs. They say they're making a strategic change. Uma mudança estratégica. A change. That's what they say, a strategic change. When in reality, what actually happens are mass layoffs. The banks, for example, have already done this. But in their case, they digitized the business, right? They started phasing out human agents and replacing everything with AI, right? Today, when you call, it's hard to talk to a real person. Only when it's something really serious, right? Then you get that little hold music and the same old wait as always. But when you call, you immediately talk to the AI. In Havan's case, they really need human labor, right? To separate the merchandise, all that stuff. So you need humans. But since things are harder here, it's tax on top of tax, he's going to transfer that labor over there. Havan stores, I believe what's going to happen with them now in the future, family, and we're going to see this change in the next few years, this strategic change, right? What this will cause is layoffs, right? They're not going to hire. For example, if they were supposed to go to 30, 35, 40,000 employees, you're going to see a decrease. If today there are 27,000 in a year, we'll talk again and see these numbers, right? We're doing this now. Like I said, it's September 5th, 2026. Next year, we'll see the number of employees at Havan here in Brazil. And I'm sure it's going to decrease because, like I'm saying, it's going to create jobs over there in Paraguay, right? And that's a problem, my brothers, because our country is sinking, right? These are big companies. You don't have 2 or 3 Luciano Hangs out there. Yeah, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Other companies may be as bigger, but you can see they're unique too. Each one has its own particular thing, right? O seu detalhe, né? And they're leaving. So, here in Brazil, that's what's left. Yeah, and this commercial part isn't going abroad, family. I was even going to make a video just about this to show you, but do you remember that family I showed you? Look, a family was sued because they were homeschooling their children. Why? Because they saw that the government curriculum, the material schools, including private ones, are required to teach. Isn't what families want, right? They're teaching witchcraft in the classroom now, right? No, because it includes religions to reduce prejudice, but the parents disagree. But they're including it. Yeah, the LGBT issue is also being taught, that if your child falls in love with their classmate, they can have a romance, right? So, all these kinds of things that go against what we want to teach our children, our doctrine for our children, are already criminalized today, and the teachers are not the villains in this story. They have to teach this because the Ministry of Education already decided. The government gives the orders. So, some parents, because of this, who were well off, hired teachers. And what did these parents gain? Lawsuit. You can't do that in Brazil. You can't hire. You might be a refugee, but you can't choose to educate your child with a private tutor, no matter their qualifications. Here's what happened with this family, and you can see the article from Brasil Paralelo. A family from jails convicted for homeschooling their daughters is gaining international support. The world now sees Brazil and calls it a disgrace. This article was published. It was also just recently, September 3rd, 2026. Look, the girls read 30 books a year and speak several languages, but they were convicted of educational neglect. So, this is a slap in the face to every Brazilian. It's a slap in the face to fathers, to mothers, and especially a slap in the face to Christianity, because, you know, one of its main commandments is to teach your child the way they should go. And in this country, that's no longer allowed. The government is the one teaching children which path they should follow, right? That's it. It's all aspects of socialism, you know, where the communists say exactly that children can't be the property of their father, that this is structural machismo. So, yeah, the father, the children, the wife, right? They don't belong to the father, they belong to the state. So it's the state that has to be in charge. The father should only be the provider for these children with no authority at all. And that's what they're doing. Look, recently a case from the countryside of Sao Paulo caught the attention of the whole country. A couple was convicted by the court for homeschooling their daughters. The event made headlines and reached the international community, which showed its support for the couple. Leda Cristina Denardi and Adalto Jose, I'll put their photo here for you to see, right? These heroic parents, that's literally what they are, right? They took on a huge battle. They were sentenced to 50 days in a semi-open prison regime. Just imagine arresting the father and mother as if they were criminals, right? The crime of educational neglect, and meanwhile even worse, right, family? We see people arrested with drugs, murderers, thieves. You catch them in the act and you release them the same day. Educational neglect occurs when guardians neglect their children's formal education. The couple taught their 2 girls at home without school enrollment for 3 years. What stands out is that the teenagers read about 30 books a year and study English, Latin, piano, and music theory with their parents' supervision. The mother went back to university and graduated in mathematics and pedagogy to improve her daughter's education. The case is now under appeal. The São Paulo Public Prosecutor's Office has already requested the couple's acquittal in both the first and second instances. That's the way things are here, my brother. So let's go. Let's see what the international reaction is. The fallout even reached Alliance Defend the Friend, ADF Friendly, the organization that works in defense of human rights and is recognized by the UN, the OAS, and the European Parliament. In a statement, the organization said it requested to join the case to present technical arguments to the court in an attempt to help overturn this conviction. According to ADF's lawyers, the judge's decision goes against the reports made during the case, which show the girls' good performance. That's it. Not even the law itself in Brazil is respecting Brazilian law. The Brazilian judge does not respect Brazilian law, because it could only be applied if these girls, for example, weren't studying. if they got there and the girls couldn't read, if they were completely illiterate, right? So there's a school there, it's free, right? Even though nothing is really free in the country. But anyway, it's there and you don't have to pay any tuition and the parents aren't taking them. So then, yes, this law would apply if they were leaving the girls in ignorance, and that would harm them when they enter the job market. But that's not the case. Even the defense lawyer proposed submitting the girls to any school test and they would pass it. They will pass. Yeah, but they didn't want to do this test, so it wouldn't be so obvious, right? Because it's clear that a mother educating her own child will provide a much better education, especially since she can focus on just that student's questions. And it's different from a classroom where the teacher has 50 students in the classroom. How is he going to answer everyone's questions, right? He just covers the basics there. Anyway, my brothers, this is the country we live in. You have no freedom at all. There are mobsters in power, right? Flipping off the people who can afford health insurance. He's the worst thief, right? He admitted it himself. We're the ones paying, not collecting the taxes. So that's what you have, right? A bum like that, who should be in jail making laws, already has the election guaranteed because the right itself. Who did the left put up? A weak candidate, I repeat, right? Just to lose anyway, right? And stay like this because the situation is very comfortable for them. They don't need to show results, just claim they're different and ask for votes, right? Then they'll get elected with record votes. Not for president, but they'll bring a bunch of their buddies into the bloated government machine. And we're the ones who get screwed, right? So what's the solution, Davi, if no one lends a hand? The solution would be a general strike today, right? We needed to shut this country down, my brothers. We had to stop. There had to be a little chaos, right? So these guys would say, look, we might not get paid this month, right? Then things would start to change, but people are too quiet, only interested in the World Cup of filth. There's no way, right? What should I say? Just do what companies do. I've already told you, and I'll repeat it here. So many Brazilian companies, almost 300 big companies like Havan leaving means they already know what the result of the elections will be. I also have no doubt the one who's going to win here is Molusco. The new Atlas poll came out showing him winning in all scenarios. In other words, changing the running mate, let's say. Putting Flavio Camicelli in as his running mate. They did all the tests. He loses in all scenarios, right? Flavio Bolsonaro. And it's obvious, right? Yeah, I know a lot of people watch channels and think, man, I saw so-and-so's channel, some other guy's channel, and everyone looks the same. Man, that's a bubble. It could be a big bubble and reach many people, but it's still online, family. Look, for example, you watching this video are in the minority. No, Davey, I think most people think like me. No, my brother. Most people, for example, don't even have time to watch a 20-minute video. Most people are on TikTok. Most people are on Instagram. That's where the majority is. They don't care about proposals. No, they want to know who's bringing more benefits, who's bringing Bolsa Gas, who's bringing Bolsa Familia. Now, there's some help. The guy was telling me, look, Davi, my daughter is getting 200 reais for going to school. Reais. E as aulas. The student goes to school and gets RR 200. We already pay for the school and the student, and the teacher covers everything, including giving him an extra RR 200 to stay there. And this money doesn't come from the government. It's from our taxes. They charge more taxes to pay for this. Look, fuel prices, as you saw, just went down. Why isn't that passed on? Because they have to maintain all these programs that keep voters on a leash. So the TikTok generation, the quiet generation, the Instagram generation who don't have time to waste on 20-minute videos, they don't care about proposals, political leanings, left or right, they don't care. They will vote for the guy who keeps this, for the guy who supports this. We have to, but leaving the country is running away. It's not, brother. It's not. When the land is under a curse, you have no other choice. So that one, Davey, but I can't leave. So what do? Then you go. You will have to reshape your whole life, the things you want, like property, right? Vehicles, houses, all of that. You will have to remodel and adapt to the terms set by our rulers. Period. Os nossos governantes. Ponto final. You'll realize with this, I pay less in taxes. That's it. You'll do the math and won't choose based on preference anymore. You won't choose based on what you want anymore, but on what the government taxes more or less. You'll adapt. That's your life now. Davey, I always wanted a 4-cylinder, but forget it. No 4-cylinder motorcycles are flex fuel. Forget it. You'll end up with a little flex fuel CG. That's it. and you're going to live like that. That's what you're going to do. Você vai fazer. You're going to give up those dreams you personally had, material things and so on, and you're going to adapt to what Brazil allows. It's done. For example, the guy who says, no, I love guns. I want to have guns. He even ordered all the guns Bolsonaro had to be confiscated. Him, the captain, right? The immoral one. For what? To demoralize the guy, right? So, is this a country that's friendly to people who like guns? No. So, if you want to have them, either you become a criminal or you leave here. You better leave. You won't say, oh my God, I'm going to protest. It won't do anything. They'll just laugh at you. When evil comes to power, especially through organized crime, financed by them and so on, as we already know, it's not going to be a little sign saying, I'm hurt, that's going to get those guys out. No, man, stop fooling around. Grow up. That's the truth I'm telling you, right? So either you adapt to what the system wants, or you're one of those who say, I don't accept this, and I'm going to look for something better for myself. And the people, right? They're not outraged. Most people are the opposite. See? The reporter even said, look, Revista Oeste, did you notice that part? I'll even put it here. Look. She said, when labor laws are more flexible, that's already a critical tone, folks. Look, this little part here, look. Just to put it, just so we can see here, I hope you're not in a hurry, otherwise you can just close the video now. Here, look.
According to what was published and with flexible labor laws, which all indicates that it is...
It's making an argument. We've already lost family. We've already lost in every way. Luciano Hang is going because there are more flexible labor laws. In other words, because he wants to exploit the worker. In the view of the average Brazilian, that's it. Geral é isso. Because we are a far left country. All the people I see who have traveled, who tell me about it, they say, I thought I was conservative, but when I got there, I missed a lot of things we have here. No, but that's free in Brazil. It's public. And here there isn't that. We were raised with that, my brother, with handout culture. We've understood that since we were kids. Why? Because the cartoons that Globo showed talked about that. Because the programming, the hosts, Xuxa, Angelica, Mara Maravilha, Eliana, all of them passed that on subliminally, and it got into our minds. It helped shape our character. It takes a while to change that, my brother. You're going to feel really uncomfortable when you go to countries that don't have that. We are a left-wing country. So if you've already understood that you can't carry the world on your shoulders, start running the numbers, especially you who are younger. And you, my brother, who are already an adult and have roots here, start adapting your life. That's it, my brother. As for me, if I can't go to Paraguay like I've already told you, it all depends on my sister's situation here, since she has multiple sclerosis. So, man, what am I going to do? You'll see. I'll either adapt the Camaro or I'll get rid of it, you know? I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a Futec fuel injection system in the Vecão. That's it, my brother. I call it Vecão for those who don't know. I have to adapt if I want to stay here, my brother. I want to go, right? But since I depend on this medication, what can I do, right? Not me, but my sister. That's it, my brother. We have to be realistic, right? That's it. Sorry the video is long, but to me, it's more of a chat than a video. You can see how poorly made it is. My arm is disappearing, but that's it, my brother. It's done with sincerity. God bless you. Take care. We're together in this.